What is going on, everybody? I had a chance to play a 1,000-point game this weekend with my Thousand Sons versus the Blood Angels post FAQ. And I haven't played my Thousand Sons in a while, and one of my subscribers asked me to bring them out and let me know my thoughts on them. So I just brought them with me. I thought I was going to get a few games in, but everybody I play 40k with, we've also been playing Gloomhaven, which is like a really fun and addictive dungeon crawl role-playing board game kind of thing. Not really role-playing, kind of like light role-playing, but a board game. And it's really fun. So I brought out these guys. I'm not sure how well they're gonna come in. Anyway, they're just kind of poster tacked on with the guns right now, so I can still manipulate them while I figure out how I'm gonna do the final magnetization. My list was 2 Forge Fiends. I have 3. I took 2. Later on, we'll realize that's probably a little too heavy for kind of a friendly 1,000-point game. This is my buddy's first game of 8th edition in a while. He played Deathwatch when 8th edition came out. He's been working on Blood Angels. He has some Chaos and stuff. He just doesn't get to play that much because of work. So we're just doing 1,000-point friendly games. Or whatever. I don't know. Here's a fun tip. Don't play 2,000-point games and it immediately becomes a friendly game. Like, all the pressure or stress or whatever you feel that you have to be maybe good at 2,000-point Warhammer 40k goes away when you play 1,000 or 1,500 or even 2,500 or 3,000. Then it's just a fun, mega battle. So, just something to think about. I took Ahriman, an Exalted Sorcerer, 2 Forge Fiends, 6 Enlightened with bows, and 62 Cultists, 2 units of 31. I thought the Cultists were going to be a little too heavy-handed, I guess. I don't know, maybe a little too efficient. But it's the first time I've had that many, because this guy who plays the Blood Angels, we did a trade, and I got a bunch of Cultists from him, so now I have 62. So I wanted to try them all out. We played open war cards, where we had triangle deployment, and our actual deployment zones touch in the middle. The twist was we had to break up our army into thirds, and units come in at deployment, and then the next group comes in at the end of the second turn movement phase, and the last group comes in at the end of the third movement phase. So it was cool. We also drew the prize, which is basically last man standing holding the relic or prize, which starts in the center of the board where deployment zones actually were, was the winner. So we just did a 3-inch bubble around that objective, just so you couldn't start within 3 inches of the middle. But anybody could definitely just walk right onto it. First turn he killed some cultists. It was fine. And my Forge Fiends and Ahriman and the remaining cultist killed like a whole 5-man Primaris squad, and then like another 1 or 2 Primaris off another squad. He was doing a lot of Primaris Marines because he wanted to try them out. Also, it looks like they're going to be pretty cool with Deathwatch. We'll see if that's the case, but they look like they could be cool. One thing, a downside of my Thousand Sons list, I forgot my Demon Prince, so I took Ahriman. He's probably also a little too strong in 1,000 points. Like, I just take him on foot, and for 131 points, he's pretty incredible. So definitely recommend him on foot. Also, then he doesn't have the demon keyword, so you can cast Boon of Tzeentch on him, and he will get a roll in that little chart for some buffs. So I had like +2 to cast, -1 to hit him in the fight phase. Some pretty cool stuff. So, the game looked like it was going to be super one-sided after the first turn because of the devastating firepower I put out. Kind of just based on, you know, casting +1 to hit, using a stratagem so the Forge Fiend can reroll all hits and misses, using Veterans of the Long War, that sort of stuff. And before I did all that, I asked my buddy, I said, you know, do you want to just play with the regular stratagems? Because he didn't really use any in his first phase, and he'd maybe not played enough games to realize a lot of people have, you know, stratagems to, you know, use in the first phase and try out some, you know, get some more punch out of your units or whatever. But he said it was fine, so, you know, that's how we played it. His next turn, he had like some aggressors and a plane come onto the board. Storm Talon gunship. It has like a las cannon in the front and some assault cannons. It's like the newer, geez, I can't remember what this one's called. It's not the Storm Raven. It's probably not the Storm Talon either. It's like the third one, the one where the wings are more out. Anyway, that thing flew in. I had my other cultist and my Enlightened on the board. He brought some Primaris Hellblasters. They did barely anything to my Demon Engines. The plane did barely anything to the Demon Engines. Killed a bunch of cultists. Then on my turn, I put everything into the Primaris Hellblasters, plus the Archer Goats. And those guys are just beast mode. I didn't even have a Shaman. I had to drop them once I realized I only had 1 HQ with Ahriman in my 1,000-point list. So I dropped the Shaman and some other stuff, and that's how I got the Exalted Sorcerer into my list, just so I could have a battalion. And we killed all the plasma gun guys, and at this point it was looking pretty grim. Every time he got near the middle, I killed everything. And basically he was killing me too, so it was a little closer. It was definitely a bloodbath. It wasn't a full one-sided battle. But in the end, Ahriman captured the prize, and the Thousand Sons were victorious. He probably suffered from the problem of walking Space Marines. Even though the way the units come in were kind of like outflanking on the sides of the board and stuff, walking Space Marines are usually pretty risky, especially Primaris Marines, just because they're kind of expensive. And it turned out like having 2 Forge Fiends with 8 2 damage autocannon shots apiece at strength 8, so wounding on 2s and killing Primaris Marines per failed armor save was like devastatingly strong in that battle. I probably should have just had 1, because he just had 1 plane. Also with just 1, I think the plane is 10 wounds. With 1 Forge Fiend, I did 9 of the 10, or 11 of the 12, or 10 of the 11, whatever it was. And that was just from giving it +1 to hit and reroll everything from the stratagem. And then it, you know, it hits on 4s, so I thought that plane was going to be pretty invincible, needing 5s to hit it, 6s if I move, sort of thing. But I got lucky, and I just killed it almost in 1 turn. Next turn I smited it, and it was gone. So, pretty interesting. Wasn't expecting that. Thought it was going to be pretty difficult to bring the plane down. One thing I hate about the Thousand Sons is my army always, I mean, it was 1,000 points, so don't get me wrong, this was just for fun, and I was definitely planning on bringing the Marines. I just have some new finished enough Forge Fiends, and I had these cultists, and I wanted to just try that out. But the list always seems stronger with less Marines and less Terminators in the Thousand Sons when I play them. And it's a little disappointing. With the Death Watch, I believe a Death Watch Primaris Marine is less points than a Rubric Marine, which is 2 wounds, 2 attacks, AP 1 bolter with long range, and then in the Death Watch Codex they'll have some extra special rules. But it's hard to determine what a Rubric Marine should be costed at, because they have a Psyker in the unit, and you're not paying extra for him, although you do have to buy his weapon. And they do have special issue ammunition. So maybe they should be a little more but 2 wound models for less points than 1 wound models is where I think it's maybe a little off points wise. If anything, I would think the 1 wound model should be less, because in reality you're going to fail armor saves, and a bunch of them Rubric Marines just die very quickly to anything. Hardly ever are you going to be like, oh, I got to make 20 armor saves, and then your 10-man unit's like, ooh, no, only took 1 wound. No, you're going to roll 20 dice and 5 are going to die, because that's just how the dice punish us for playing Warhammer. But so anyway, just some thoughts. Once I get some, I'm gonna see. You won't really be able to see it, but I got some bases. Let's see if we can get this a better light. You can kind of see it there. Anyway, I got some bases that I'm working on for the Thousand Suns, and what I'm gonna do is get all the Marines and everybody's base coated with this jet exhaust Vallejo metal color and built. So they're all prime black, they're all base coated with jet exhaust metal. Then I'm gonna get all the panels painted in. I use Vallejo model color emerald, and that's what's on the 3 Forge Fiends. And then I do 2 coats of that, and then I do a Coelia green shade wash. Once they're all to that point, all the bases will be done, and they'll all be glued to the bases, and then there'll be a roughly painted army that I can work on slower. But it'll be like playing with a painted army before it's a fully painted army, if that makes sense. Like, everything will be up to a certain standard, just not completed. And I think that'll be kind of interesting. But also that means I have a lot of models. And right now I'm currently working on my Imperial Guard Vestroyans. So what it means is I have a lot of models to really do a lot of kind of tedious things to before they'll be glued to their bases. But once all the bases are finished and the models are washed, then I just go back in, highlight the armor panels, clean up the trim, pick out a lot of little trinkets and things that the Rubric Marines have. I have like 5 Terminators that are roughly like 80% done. Just like some cloaks and power weapons and stuff that I've got to figure out how I want them. But so it's just an interesting thing of like trying to batch paint a whole army. Zangors and cultists and all that are not included in this. This is just going to be 30 Rubric Marines, 3 Exalted Sorcerers, an Old Metal Ahriman. The Forge Fiends are already pretty well done, so just something to think about. Thousand Suns against the Blood Angels. That's my recap. Let me know how you've been getting along. I still think the star of the game, for the star of the Codex, is Zangors on discs with bow and arrows, because they are savages and they kill everything. And I only took 6 and they were still just awesome. They're so good. It's like ridiculous. Also, they're 17 points for a 5-up invuln, 2 wounds, 2 shots. They fly. They have AP 1. They have 24-inch bows. They have like 2 or 3 attacks in hand-to-hand combat. They trigger auto wounds in hand-to-hand combat and shooting. They can be hitting on 2s next to a shaman, rerolling 1s. They can double fight in the fight phase. If you cast +1 to hit on them and next to a shaman, they trigger auto wounds on 4s to hit. So you could have like 18 shots and do like, 18 hits with 12 auto wounds, or without having to roll the wound. It's beast. And they're 3 points less than a Rubric Marine. I can't ever see why I would not take one of them over a Rubric Marine and still almost have points for a cultist. So hopefully Chapter Approved fixes that. I do believe most of Chapter Approved is probably... Well, no, that's not true. I was going to say, I haven't considered actually writing up like a nice email to that website they give out for feedback for chapter approved. But I'm sure they know that they've never once seen a Rubic Marine or Terminator at any of their events. Same with, there's hardly ever any Plague Marines. So both of them clearly are being outshined by other choices in their book. Namely, the Chaos Cultist, which is probably either too good, maybe, or I think the unit size is maybe just too big for them. Just make them unit size 20. I think they shrunk the unit size of the conscripts when they were a problem in the very beginning. So that could be a fix. I don't think they need to necessarily go up in points, maybe, but then you're adding points onto something because they benefit a lot from the stratagems. Another thing would be just FAQ Veterans of the Long War to not work on cultists, because I don't think they were in the Long War, right? I don't think they're veterans of it. So that would be another way to fix them without overly fixing them. So if you work for GW and you watch this video 16 minutes in, consider those thoughts. If not, whatever. We are almost giving away Abaddon. He is ready to roll. We need like 4 more subscribers, then we'll make a video where we'll be giving him away. So that's going to be super cool. 100 subscribers, that was pretty cool. I wish I had like a viral video and then could get like 1,000 subscribers and start getting on that YouTube payroll. Get those free codexes to review. That'd be neat. I don't know how many subscribers you need for that, probably like 10,000, but maybe we'll get there. So next video, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, I'll let you know.